My name is Mikiel Houser. I'm one of the development executives from Hasbro and co-producers on this amazing show that we're doing. I want to take a minute to introduce you guys to this amazing panel we have here today. First off, I want to introduce our executive producers on the show, and we have Vic Cook. You may know his work from Spectacular Spider-Man and Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. We also have Kevin Burke and Doc Wyatt, who are also our head writers on the show. They also have worked on a Spider-Man show. They worked on Ultimate Spider-Man. Most recently, they've been consultants on the new Spider-Man series and also worked on Avengers Assemble. So, say hi to these guys. Next up, I want to jump into some of our awesome voice cast. I'm sure many of you guys know Scott Menville. Scott has worked on Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go as Robin. If you aren't aware of that show, I mean, watch ours, but also go watch that one. We also have Ogie Banks here. And Ogie plays one of our lead characters with Scott. Scott plays Stretch Armstrong. Ogie Banks plays Ricardo Perez or Omnimass. We have Nazneen Contractor next. And you may know her work from 24 or Heroes Reborn. I was a fan of both, so I know them well. Say hi to Nazneen. She plays Raya Dashti in our show, who is one of the friends of the main characters and a love interest of Stretch. And then last but not least, I want to introduce Felicia Day, who I'm sure many of you guys know. Felicia, you do everything. It's a list that would take too long to note everything. But
sorry.
The Guild, most recently in animated space. You've done work with us on My Little Pony, and now one of our characters in Stretch Armstrong. So let's give this crew a round of applause. Thank everybody for joining us today. It's awesome to have you here. So I want to just jump in and start this off because Stretch is a older Hasbro property, and starting with you, Vic, and kind of going down the line, what was your kind of first thought about Stretch when Hasbro reached out to you?
Well, when they first gave me the call, it was like 1 second in my head, but it felt like an eternity where I thought, oh my God, this was an iconic toy, but not really a character. It's like, what was this guy's job? What could this show be about? And then the executive at Hasbro said, you get to reimagine this. So it was this opportunity to create a whole new superhero universe, and that's what brought me in. The second thing was, we've seen stretchy powers before, and this was an opportunity to try it in a different way, to kind of rethink it and reinterpret it. So it was a blast.
Doc, Kevin?
That's absolutely right. When we got the call as well, at first we were thinking, there's not really any sort of mythology to this. And at first it felt like that might be a weakness, but then we realized that is absolutely a strength. We could create this world. And so, in a way, even though we know the name, you're seeing a brand new superhero world that's never been seen before. So this is a great point. This is a great place for kids to jump in. You know, you might remember the name from the old toy, but right now we're starting this fresh and brand new.
Yeah, and because my first thought also was, is Hasbro going to demand a shirtless wrestler, you know, be the main character? And we found, as soon as we went into pitch, we found all the executives were all about, you know, opening the creativity up and finding something awesome to do.
The shirtless wrestlers for a later season.
Yes, that's right.
No spoilers.
And it was like an opportunity for us to sort of create the kind of show we'd want to see if we were kids too.
Yeah. So Scott, Ogie, Nazneen, Felicia, kind of going down the line. I mean, what was coming from an acting perspective? I mean, it's a little bit different coming from it because I mean you got to read some of the sides and stuff. What were your initial thoughts when you heard about Stretch Armstrong?
Well, speaking of reading the sides are part of the script that an actor auditions with. I think the original sides that we read were about 1.5 years before we found out that we booked the job. But yeah, the sides were very cool, full of action, and another aspect that I liked in them was that you got to see not only the superhero side of Stretch, but you got to see Stretch as Jake, who's just a normal kid trying to navigate his way through high school and through the weird social dynamics of just being a teen.
then with Stretch, and then it's like Stretch Armstrong and playing Omni-Mask. How am I going to fit into this, and how it comes together, and you know, the three characters, you know, all three of us, and then everybody, the monsters, and how it all comes together is pretty exciting and pretty awesome.
Well, this was my first cartoon that actually got picked up to series. So when I saw the character of Ryan, I auditioned for her. You know, she's everything I wasn't in high school. She's cool. She's alternative. She's mysterious. She doesn't really fit in. She's tough, and so I loved the opportunity to play a character that I wished I was, and then I was so thrilled to book it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of heart in the scripts and in the story. I think it's not only clever to put these characters that people know from a long time ago in a new venue, but I really love the idea of making a family of these characters. And I think that's the most important thing for me to love a show, is that the characters love each other and complement each other and get through tough times together. And that's what I really like about this, along with some crazy monsters.
So digging into that a little bit more, I mean, talking about the development side of it, I mean, you all three have worked on superhero-based shows before, really well-developed out worlds, really well-developed out villains. Starting with you, Vic, I mean, what was your process for kind of creating this new world, creating the look, the feel of the show?
Well, you know, I helped develop the Spectacular Spider-Man, which was based on the old Stanley Ditko version of Spider-Man. And Peter was a character who kind of was going through his hero's journey on his own, couldn't share those secrets with anybody. And our three heroes and all our characters have each other. And so they're kind of going through this together. So that was a really huge difference. As far as the visual look, I want to give a shout out to Joey Mason, who's our lead character designer.
Yep, there he is. There's Joey.
And Katie McGill, our background designer. And we really wanted to create a look that could carry off the action-adventure aspects of it, and the drama, but also the humor, and I think it really does that.
When we pitched on this on the writing side, John Hughes was something we really used as an influence. One of the things we love about comics, we're both big comic nerds, and one of the things we I suppose like everyone in the room. But one of the things we respond to about them is the sort of human aspect and the sort of high school of it all. And there's superheroes and there's amazing monsters, but what does it mean for their lives? And that's something we very much wanted to put into the story too.
But to go to what you had asked Houser about, like the Rogues Gallery and the monsters, you know, a lot of the things we love have had decades to sort of build characters and build villains and build these groups of people, and we, almost episode by episode, we had to come up with new villains and new backstories and new everything, which has been a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of work, but I mean, to the point where it's a design, it's a power, it's a different character, and as well as the composers wrote new scores for each one of these villains, you know, so we had to create a world pretty quickly. But one thing I also want to say is it's a Netflix show, it's all dropping at once, so even though each episode, well, a lot of episodes have new villains, it's all adding up to one big story, you know what I mean? So it all comes together.
So going down to our great voice cast here, so talking to you guys about when you guys work on a bunch of different types of series, animated, live action, to you, what is the most unique thing about working on something like Stretch versus a Teen Titans or a Spider-Man or something like that?
Well, one of the things that I find very unique about this show is that there are a lot of different races that are represented in characters, whether they be heroes or villains, and there are a lot of strong female characters, whether they be heroes or villains in this show. And that's something you don't see a lot of in a lot of programming, whether it's animated or live action. So I think that's really a special thing, that there's that much diversity that's represented.
I think it's just like from walking in the door, just the vibe of the room and of you guys, like, you know, just feeling the essence of everybody, and then getting in the booth with these characters here, I mean, the magic just happens.
Yeah, I think, oh, sorry. I just, group recording is unusual. So that means, usually in voiceover, you'll be like, oh, I'll come in on Friday from 2 to 4. And you kind of, even though you're having a conversation with another actor, you will record your lines alone, and then later they'll splice them together and make a conversation of it. This was more like actually a lot of the time acting like you're on live camera, because you'd be in the room with the other actors, and I do think that that really raised the bar of performance in a way that a lot of other voiceover jobs that I've had made it easy to be the character a little bit more.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. So I had both. I would record with a fine cast, and then sometimes I'd have to record on my own because I wasn't always available. But when we would record together, it was like theater. It was actually like being in the theater, putting on a play, putting on a show, and you really got to feed off everyone's energy, and they're so good, and everyone was so nice and so supportive, and it was just made it a very safe environment to play and have fun and really encourage you to be the best.
Also, they provided free bacon every morning before the recordings. Bacon and cantaloupes. Yeah, turkey bacon. And like, I was like, this is amazing. We get free meals too. I get to work.
So, Nazneen, earlier you had mentioned that this was your first animated series to go. You've done pilots before. Was there anything about the process that was unexpected or exciting or new for you that you hadn't experienced before?
Well, I felt like I'd won the lottery when I booked this job because it's such a fantastic experience, and as an actor, to do voice work, it's so freeing because you can be anyone. You can be anyone you want to be. You're not determined by the way you look. So I found that very liberating. And then I guess in terms of the process, it was wonderful because the producers were so inclusive. So normally you're sitting in a booth and there's like a big glass window and the producers are behind it. You're kind of like a goldfish in a bowl because they don't turn on the sound, they'll just be talking. And so the last pilot I did, I remember I had booked it, but I was testing for it, so I'd do it, and they'd be like, that was great, Nazneen, thank you. And I'd be like, okay, and you can hear them. Thank you, Nazneen. Like, it was such a weird thing for my mind, but these producers are really wonderful, and they always include you, and they let you know what's going on, and so I like that experience of it, as opposed to being a goldfish. It's so much fun. It's like, it almost feels like a crime. It's so good. You go in, you have the best time. It doesn't take a lot of your time, and then you leave, and you get to be a cartoon. I mean, it's a dream come true. I love it.
That's awesome. So instead of just sitting here talking about it, do you guys want to see a sneak peek of one of the episodes? Oh yeah! Great. Can we roll that clip? I like that some of the actors haven't seen any of the final animation yet.
Yeah, we're excited too.
So excited. So, Vic, do us a quick favor and give us some context for that amazing clip we just saw.
Well, I don't want to give too much behind the scenes. I want you guys to tune in and watch it, but I do want to say that with Stephen Yun as Nathan in Wingspan, the Flex Fighter in Green, and Dr. C was played by Kate Mulgrew. And it takes a whole team to make these shows. I want to give a couple other shout outs. We have three great directors on the show, Alan Caldwell and Frank Parr, who you may know from Gargoyles. And the guy who directed this episode is Kevin Altieri, who was one of the original Batman the Animated Series directors. Woo! There he is.
That's it? Okay, great. So this is I want to jump back to our voice cast. I mean, you guys got to hear a little bit of it. I mean, you guys got to work with a ton of different people on this show. We have a ton of different voice actors, like Kate Mulgrew. Who are some of the others that you guys really enjoyed working with that you may have not had a chance to work with before, or Ogie imitated a lot?
Keith David, he was the best. He was the best. Imitating it. Just his voice. I mean, just his presence and his voice. He was my favorite. And he's so cool. He is just so mellow.
Give us a little Keith David.
You flex fighters, you gotta get over here.
What about you, Scott?
Well, for me, one of our guest cast that I was most excited to work with was Henry Rollins, who I've worked with Henry a few times, and the guy's just a class act, and it was great to get to work with him again on this show.
And Henry Rollins and Clancy Brown came in to record the same day, and it was like the two toughest tough guys in the world, like standing there sort of like stone in the booth. It was awesome.
I really enjoyed working with Will Wheaton, just because I'd never worked with him before, and of course me being so not with it, didn't know who Will Wheaton was. And like I was like, why does everyone want to talk to this guy all the time? And like he's so popular. And then I looked at him, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so happy I talk to him all the time. He's lots of fun, super talented.
He also knows everything about everything,
He
which
does.
is why I
He's
talk to him.
super smart. Yeah, it's true. It's true. So,
Felicia
yeah.
doesn't know Will either.
I mean, you took mine, but that's fine. Yeah, Will. I mean, I work with him quite a lot, but I walked in, I didn't know he was on the show, so I walked in, it was so awkward. I was like, what are you doing here? He's like, what are you doing here?
I remember that because we all have to sign non-disclosure agreements
Yeah.
where we can't talk about it. And didn't Will say that you guys had seen each other the day before?
Literally, we had breakfast the day before, like down the street.
You're like, oh, I got a gig tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
No,
Oh, so do I.
you don't say, see, we pay attention to our contracts.
That's right. Well done.
So, Vic, Doc, and Kevin, I want to throw this out to you guys before we begin wrapping up. So, with any great superhero, there has to be great villains. What was the process for you guys creating these villains? I mean, Kevin, you'd mentioned a little bit earlier that you had to create them from the ground up. You didn't really get a chance to dive into all of this lore and play with lore. So, how did you guys go about creating these new villains?
Well, we started from the character side of what characters would fit with the characters that we already have, what characters would clash with the characters we already have, and then we would work with Vic in terms of when it came to generating their powers, which the backstory is often sort of, you find the power set first and then maybe find the backstory to how they got powers after. And then we would work with Vic visually to just design what these monsters are going to look like and how the powers would work, and then try to integrate some of his visual development into the scripts as we're writing.
As we're designing it, like some of the powers may adjust. Like you'll have to see, but we have a character who is very fast and energy based. I think originally it was about running fast, and we turned it into like speed skating. And then as we do the show, it's like it's not just locked 1,000% once it's written or designed. We get into the show, and the storyboard artists and the directors, they have ideas that they add on to and build onto our ideas to give them more personality and more pizzazz and more flair.
And that same goes with the actors too. As we start to hear the actors we pulled in for some of the casting on this, but also the best villains bring out interesting new sides of all the heroes, and that's a big aspect of it, is to try to find villains that would really focus on our three main guys and help bring out sides of their characters we hadn't seen yet. There are some just fun villains that are awesome just to see, but in general, it's really to put our guys through a challenge, and they always came from a character standpoint.
Yeah, I can't wait for November 17th, because this is like a fantastic rogues gallery of villains that rivals any you've ever seen, and it's awesome.
And they're making toys. They've shown us the prototypes of the toys. I love the toys.
Doc, you do love toys. Your desk is just covered.
Yes, it is.
So to begin wrapping up here, I mean, do you guys want to, since we just talked about villains, do you want to show a little bit of the villains that we have and some of the action sequences?
You'll see a little bit of a lot of villains.
A little bit of a lot of villains?
Can we name them? Or we can't name them?
We can after. We can talk a little bit about them. So if we can roll that clip, please.
And that big stone rock monster guy is played by John Heater, Napoleon Dynamite. Yes, yeah.
So one last question for everyone, and this one should be pretty quick before they forcefully kick us off stage. I'd like to walk off. Is if you guys could describe this show in one word, what would that word be?
Surprising Easter eggs.
That was it.
Hyphen.
No, one word, Vic. One word.
Tell me the next word.
If you put a hyphen in it, does it make it one word? Look for the Easter eggs. Every episode, there's some surprise that could lead to others.
This is
That is
why I
literally
tell
the
Vic
worst
one
one-word
word.
answer.
Yeah, that's
Not
like
one word
14
at all.
words.
Mandatory.
Epic. That's all I got.
Fantastic.
Very good. Good. It's good.
Unexpected.
Binge delicious.
Well, guys, that's it for us. Thanks so much for coming out to check it out. The show airs, as Vic said, November 17th on Netflix. We drop all episodes the same day. All those villains that you saw are in that season. So there's a ton of really cool action, really cool villains, a lot of heart for the show. So check it out. I think I love Nazneen's answer the most out of that one. Sorry, the rest of you. Unexpected, I think, is a really great way to describe the show. So make sure you tune in November 17th on Netflix.
We have
Thanks
posters.
so much.
We have posters.
Oh yeah, we're doing a signing. Well, they're doing a signing. You don't want my signature. You do? I'll get you after. But these guys are doing a signing. Come check it out. We've got posters. If you have any questions, you can ask there. These guys are happy to answer. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Comic-Con.